I'm Rowan. Not exactly built for toughness, but not fragile either. I'm 37, married to Murrin, who's 35. We don't have children, not because we didn't want them, but because life kept throwing scheduling conflicts in our path until the conversation just faded. For a long time, it felt like we were teammates, just trying to stay afloat. Lately, though, it was more like two parallel lives that happened to share a kitchen. That Thursday morning, the sky was low and gray, sticky with humidity, holding its breath as if waiting for something. I had planned a 3-day work trip out of state. Nothing exciting, just meetings, logistics, the usual corporate grind. I packed lightly, 2 shirts, a pair of slacks, a book I likely wouldn't touch. My bag sat by the front door, as it always did. Still, there was a strange weight in the air, a tension you don't hear so much as feel. Murrin had been distant all week, not angry, not sad, just somewhere else. If silence could be felt, hers would have been thick, almost suffocating. I was pouring coffee when I heard her approach, footsteps deliberate, slow. She entered the kitchen in an oversized lavender sweater, her hair gathered loosely at the nape of her neck, eyes a little swollen like she hadn't slept well. She froze the moment she saw me. "You didn't leave." Her voice wasn't sharp, more caught off guard, nervous even. I swirled the mug in my hands, letting the steam brush my face. "The trip's cancelled," I said. Her reaction was immediate, as if someone had yanked the floor from under her. Her hand, frozen halfway to the cupboard, dropped slowly. Her eyes blinked rapidly, trying to process. "Why?" she asked. Not a question about what happened, just the why. I shrugged. "Budget stuff. They postponed it." Her glance flicked to the duffel at the door, the kind of look someone gives when their plans, or their expectations, suddenly shift. "Right," she murmured. "I thought you'd already gone." There was a subtle shake in her voice she tried to hide. If I didn't know her as well as I did, I might have missed it. That quiver meant she had expected me out of the house that morning. I didn't comment. I took a measured sip of coffee, watching her drift toward the pantry like her body was on autopilot. She picked up a jar of oats, not really intending to use it, and set it on the counter with a soft thump. Something wasn't right. For weeks, Murrin had been secretive with her phone, turning it face down, stepping out to answer calls, whispering conversations behind running water. None of it fit her usual openness. She used to be an open book, sometimes painfully so. Now, I couldn't read her at all. She cleared her throat. "So, you're staying home today?" "Seems like it," I replied. She managed a thin smile. "Okay. I need to head out for a bit. I promised Celia I'd meet her this morning." Celia, her friend who lived 30 minutes away, a friend she hadn't mentioned in months, suddenly more present than anyone else. I nodded, letting the quiet hang between us like an unopened letter. Her hand shook slightly as she grabbed her keys. "Take your time," I said. She passed me, and her perfume hit, fresh, floral, deliberately chosen, not her usual at-home scent. Her hand paused on the doorknob. Then she spoke softly, without looking back. "Rowan, you're really staying home today?" I put my mug down. "Yeah, Murrin. I am." She swallowed, nodded, and left. The door clicked shut behind her, a sharp punctuation in the still air. And once it closed, a slow, cold unease settled over me, heavy and impossible to ignore. She hadn't been startled to find me home. She'd been exposed. The morning moved with an unusual weight, each minute stretching longer than it should. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, not warming, only illuminating the silence that filled the space. I sat at the kitchen table, clutching my mug, pretending to scroll through emails, but my thoughts raced uncontrollably. Everything suddenly fell into place, the whispered conversations, the late-night excuses, the obsessive attention to her phone. By noon, she returned. Murrin's car eased into the driveway with deliberate slowness, as if she were rehearsing the next act. I stayed seated, eyes fixed ahead, letting the tension build. She stepped inside, and for a fleeting moment, the room seemed to freeze. "Rowan," she said, her tone soft, not accusing. There was a flicker of worry, maybe guilt. I didn't look at her. Welcome back. She paused mid-step, as if expecting me to demand explanations, to plead, to confront. But I remained still. My chest felt taut yet strangely calm, like a dam had burst and left only serenity behind. I thought you'd leave, she murmured almost to herself. I didn't, I answered simply. She blinked, uncertainty creeping into her gaze. Why? The single word carried the weight of countless unspoken arguments, the kind uttered when someone realizes the rules have changed. Because I choose to, I said quietly. Because I'm done living by your expectations. Recognition softened her expression. She finally understood. The old script, the one where I adjusted to her whims and vanished into the background, was no longer in play. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, lips pressed together. So, what now? She asked. I set my mug down with a soft thud, letting the sound mark the moment. Now we stay in the same house. The trip is cancelled. That's it. She stared, trying to process, brows furrowed. Are you upset? I shook my head. No. Not angry. Just, clear. I realized that morning how much I had been bending over backward, trying to fix something that only mattered to her, and that I could not continue. Her shoulders drooped slightly, a tiny crack in the armor she always wore. She'd grown so accustomed to my compliance that my refusal shifted the ground beneath her feet. Rowan, she began again, quieter this time. I didn't expect. You didn't expect what? I interrupted, my voice steady. For me to stop. For me to act like my own life has value. Because it does. And I'm done pretending it doesn't. The words hung in the air like a curtain. She shifted, unsure whether to storm out, cry, or speak. I could see the calculation in her eyes, the dawning realization that she no longer controlled the situation. Maybe I overstepped, she whispered. Maybe, I said, with no triumph, no gloating. Just honesty. And that honesty cut deeper than any argument we'd ever had. Murrin moved to the fridge, lifted a bottle of water, and leaned against it. Silence stretched as she sipped, her gaze fixed on the counter tiles. I watched her, recognizing the person I had loved, the person I had grown distant from, and the person whose choices I could no longer ignore. You're really not leaving? She asked, almost a whisper. I'm not, I replied. She nodded slowly. So, the trip is cancelled. Yes, I said with a small, tight smile. The trip is cancelled. A pause. Then she looked at me. Really looked, without pretense. For a moment, it felt like glimpsing the old Murrin, the one who laughed at my dumb jokes and stayed up late just to talk. But tempered now with caution, awareness, and the knowledge that our dynamics had shifted. I don't know what to say, she murmured. Then don't, I said. Just understand that I'm done seeking approval that isn't freely given. That's all you need to know. She exhaled slowly, as if she'd been holding her breath for years. I could see her trying to figure out how to reclaim control, how to normalize the situation. But the truth was, she couldn't, at least, not today. I walked past her to the living room, leaving the mug on the counter. She didn't follow or protest. The air had changed, sharp, quiet, yet oddly peaceful. Rowan, thank you for not leaving, she called from the kitchen, her voice softer than I'd heard in a long time. You're welcome, I said. In that moment, the kitchen wasn't just a room. It was a place where clarity had arrived, quiet but undeniable. Where the rules shifted, not with anger or shouting, but with quiet resolve. Where I reclaimed a piece of myself without seeking permission. And that, more than anything, felt like victory.